I lived 26 years in the wrong marriage, 40 years in the wrong career, and 59 years in the wrong body, and changed everything.
Hi everyone, I'm Stella. I am a health and fitness coach for women in menopause, and I am the host of the Inspire Show. And as you know, I always bring guests who can inspire you on some way. Uh, Today I have here Bobbi Barrington. She is a transformation coach, a wisdom speaker, trans woman, model, and storyteller. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Stella. It's great to be with you today.
Nice to meet you. Um, you made a radical choice to rewrite your entire life when you were 59. Yeah.
And
Can you tell me about, can you tell me your story?
absolutely. So I'm now 65 and I'm a woman and I am single, happy, fulfilled, free. I am so free now. And I've changed everything in my life, absolutely everything, in a really short space of time to become the woman I am today. And that includes my gender identity. So I say that I lived 26 years in the wrong marriage, 40 years in the wrong career, and 59 years in the wrong body, and changed everything inside and out to become who I am today. And that process, that journey, it's been the adventure of a lifetime. The person I have created today, she was always in me. And I'm so excited to create the next version of me after this. And doesn't mean it's easy, doesn't mean there's not work to be done, but I can't really see the point of living otherwise because I want to know who I can be, what I can do, what I am capable of, what is the highest expression of Bobby while she's on this planet. It's for such a short time, a blink of an eye and it's over. Who can I be? What can I do? And that inspires me. And the vision of who I can become and what I can do and the impact I can make in the world is far stronger for me than the fear of doing the things I need to do, taking the steps out of my comfort zone, doing things that I've never done before, but I just keep stepping into the unknown, managing my emotions, learning to cope and growing my nervous system to handle more and more and more. And so I feel I'm a personification of possibility, that it's possible to change everything at any stage in your life in a really short time with a decision, with action, with growing belief. And I'm living life. This is not boring. This is not mediocre. This is not me settling for second best. I want best. I want best for me and I want best for everybody. And that kind of sums me up, I think. I'm now a coach. You know, I was an accountant project manager, but my life, I felt so frightened through most of my life, so inauthentic in who I was, what I was doing, how I was showing up. And when I say I've shifted everything, I spent my life as an introvert and now I'm such an extrovert. And I just, not saying it's good or bad or anything. I'm just saying it's the shift and this is the authentic truth of me and who Bobby is when she gets out of the fear, out of the boxes, out of the self-limiting beliefs that I've bought into, that society has told me about, but I agreed with for most of my life. And now I'm not agreeing with that. anymore. Loving this journey and loving who I can inspire along the way. And I do that through speaking, through coaching, and this is a new growth for me too, because it's relatively new, and I'm traveling around Australia at the moment, just me, single woman. I don't live anywhere. I just have my van and go from community to community, pitching, speaking, finding opportunities, shifting lives, poking a little hole in the beliefs that keep us stuck where we are. Are you sure? Are you really sure? I say. People have so many conceptions about what life looks like, about reality. It's my reality. Don't take that away from me. Who will I be otherwise? Are you sure? And it's all mindset, Stella. It's all mindset. We can be,
Yes.
do, have anything we want, anything. And it's us who stops us, only us. That's me in a nutshell, I think. I can talk for ages, but does that answer the question?
You are so inspirational. I think it's for every woman, uh, because I always tell them to change their mindset about themselves, because we have some limiting beliefs about what we can do over 40, over 50, over 60, what we are capable. We are slowing down and thinking that we can't change anything anymore. Uh, and I always encouraging them, and with this podcast also, to let's brave and let's change things. Just take little steps first, and just start to step out to your comfort zone, do something. And if you start with little steps, and you starting to change your mindset about yourself, about your age, or about your gender, or about anything, if you change your mindset, then you can do anything you want. And you are
Abs-
the example.
Oh, absolutely. But I lived 60 years, in a mindset, and I thought I was doing everything I could, and I was, like in these last few years, I couldn't do it. I tried so much by myself. I wanted to be entrepreneurial. I was always trying. I think this is the thing, I always believed there was something more for me. I always believed that I was here for a bigger purpose. And that belief has carried right through, even through the hardest times. And I feel really privileged to be a person who, living in a society, a community with, the, um, in my environment, the people around me, in Australia, where I could believe in something better, something bigger for me. And I could actually believe that there was a pathway for me to do that. And that belief drove a lot of my choices and my activities. And I kept working and working and working, even in my former gender, in my former life, doing jobs that I really hated. Actually, I think in all of my working career, the number of days where I felt fulfilled and happy about work, I could count on one hand. It was just wrong for me, and I showed up poorly a lot of the time because I wasn't lit up, I wasn't excited.
Mhm.
But I started stepping into personal development. In I lived in London for a long time, and I started with Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad
Mhm.
Education, and then with um, T. Harv Eker. And T. Harv Eker and his programs were extraordinary for me. And I learned an awful lot. And then Tony Robbins, and then lots and lots of others. And it was me. me reaching out, doing the work, learning, growing, meeting people, but still, I was looking for my passion, and I'd kind of touched on speaking back then, but I didn't know what to speak about. And I was, I asked one of my coaches in one of these groups, I said, I'm looking for my passion, where is it? Is it on the floor? Is it behind the fridge? Is it under the sofa? Where do I, where do I find this thing called passion? And he tapped me on my chest and said, there it is, Bobby. There, it's there. But I didn't understand that at the time. And then I kind of forgot about the personal development work that I'd done for kind of most of a decade, I think. I came back to Australia with my family and it was so hard. It was such a hard time. Financially, emotionally, I lost my family, I lost my marriage, I lost friends, I lost dreams that I once had. And it was such a difficult time. And I didn't know how to cope with that. I didn't know how to deal with it emotionally. And so I drank a lot of wine. I went into a room because I was separating from my ex, and it was my space, and I just drank a lot of wine because I just didn't know. And I felt lost and lonely for many years and struggling to do things that I thought were the right things, trying to build businesses, and really coming at it from the wrong mindset, like the mindset of scarcity, of need, of lack, of getting. And that mindset never, it it's not sexy. It doesn't have an energy of attraction. And I struggled. I did make some money, but nowhere near like what I really know that I'm capable of. And I think we're all capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit. And so I divorced. I moved interstate. I started caring for my mum who was unwell, and started trying some other businesses. But still, I didn't know what to do. I still didn't know. I couldn't make money. And so this became one of my beliefs, the limiting beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
the I am statement. I am never going to be wealthy. I am never going to be able to do this. And we create these statements in our heads about who we are and our identities, and we hold on to them so tightly. That's who I
Mm-hmm.
am. Don't take that away from me. Who will I be if you take that away? And I was, I was, I was trying to make money. I was doing, and never stopping. And all the time, what I'd been doing for like 10, 15 years was creating a Bobby who was coachable, a Bobby who wanted it, a Bobby who had a vision of something better for the future. And I reached out to one of my uplines. It was a network marketing company that I was attached with and sold absolutely nothing. I was in two network marketing companies and sold nothing, and I kept doing the things and trying to focus, this narrow vision on doing what I was told to do, what I was advised to do, posting here, showing up there, but with crappy energy. And
Mm-hmm.
I had emails piling up. I had like nearly 30,000 emails unread sitting in my inbox. I had a pile of physical letters sitting on a table that I was scared to open because I had such a poor money mindset. And I'm still working on that. I'm still really working on that. And my phone was permanently on mute because I was frightened that the tax department was going to phone me up. And that was all so triggering for me. The money, the threat. What it really came down to, Stella, was safety. I felt so unsafe. I found I found safety in I never didn't I didn't ever not have any money, but that the money that I had was my safety. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm going to be using that money to invest in me, and then one day I'm going to turn it all around. One day, and there was like, and I found safety in the comfort of that idea. As my money diminished, the comfort of the idea kept me safe. But I got to the point where I felt I need help. I need help here. I can't do it myself. I keep doing what I do and I keep getting the same results. And so I reached out for a new coach, and everything changed at that point with her. Somebody who could see me for who I was, believed in me, who could help me shift the stories in my head about failing, unsuccessful, not good enough, living a life of fear, lack, the stories I told about my childhood, about my father, alcoholic, emotional, it was emotionally an unsafe childhood, even into my 20s. And how our whole family was frightened of the emotional outbursts. And me, it was like, like I was a boy, I was a man through this time. And this is very common for women, like this, keeping ourselves shut down and keeping ourselves from expressing ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
not wanting to show up, attract attention, and because it's an emotionally unsafe place to be. And we don't like that. Our nervous systems don't like the threat from that. So that was me. That was most of my life, being suppressed, introverted, quiet. People would talk over me. I remember in London, even into my 40s, being nervous about standing up in the tube and opening the vent because it was too hot, or closing it was too cold, because I would attract attention to myself. I remember walking down the street and seeing my bank and being triggered actually by seeing the bank, because I was so frightened around money and the meaning around money. And then with my new coach, she got me to stop, do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
sit on a hill, not listen to podcasts or audiobooks or think about anything. And suddenly, when I gave myself quiet and allowed my intuition to bubble up again, I allowed my sense of possibility and vision to start to come to the fore, and all of these ideas about what I could do, and shifting the story from what I couldn't do to what I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed things. And she said, Bobby, of all of these things, what lights you up the most? And I said, I think that I will have more of an impact in the world with what I say than with what I do. My voice, my message, the leverage of speaking. And shortly after, a speaking coach appeared in my life, and I started down that journey. And whereas before I didn't know what my passion was, now I do. Now I know why I'm on this planet. Now I know who I serve, why, to elevate other people. I was listening to some of your other podcasts and the people that you interview, and this is a common thing. People want to help other people, and we'll look around, and so many people are living lives of fear, lack, problems, challenges, living in a state of nervous system fight, flight, freeze kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know that we are making these choices because we're not aware of the options that we really do have. I was at an event last night, and the lady I was with was talking about being at cause and being in effect. And when you're in the effect, you're in that state of problems, blame, justification, not my fault, and can't do this, and things are happening to me. But most people don't know that there are choices about living a different kind of life where you're not complaining about things, where you take responsibility for yourself, where you
Mhm.
commit, where you're not having failures but feedback, where you have agency over your whole life and create your own reality through choice. But if you are not aware that there are choices to be made, how can you choose? And most people live a life where they say, this is my reality. This is my truth. Get real, Bobby. It's not realistic. And I struggle with that now because I have learnt so much, grown so much. And now I feel, having transitioned into a world of women, I have learnt to be vulnerable with my emotions and it not to matter. No one blames me. No one judges me. My emotional vocabulary is like enormous. I just recently sat down and wrote down emotional words about emotions, the names of emotions that I want to feel each day, and I can write down 60 just like that. Boom, boom, boom. I want to feel exhilarated, upbeat, inspired, elevated, happy, like calm, free, liberated. These are things that I want to feel on a daily basis.
Mhm.
But as a man, I didn't have a tradition of talking about emotions. It was not done for men to reveal their inner truths in that kind of way. But as a woman, and in particular the community of women that I am part of, it's such a growth. And I feel so powerful, so strong, so resilient now that I create my reality each day with the choices I make, including the smile I put on my face, the language I use, the way that I treat people, the way that I find gratitude and joy in every moment. And it's a choice. And I have processes where I go through and I get triggered. I get triggered by stuff because I have an unconscious mind, which is my little girl trying to keep me safe, from childhood hurts and trauma. And she's still there and she still wants to protect me and keep me safe. And I just have to calm her and hug her and hold her and say, honey, you're okay. You're safe. We got you. Yeah, so this is where I find myself now, pardon me, speaking around the country and talking about creating a life with intention, creating the future that we want to create and believing it. And you spoke a minute ago about taking steps, little steps. Little steps create momentum. Little
Mhm.
steps generate feedback. Through little steps, you learn something that you didn't know before. The world is different. The riskiest thing is not taking that risk, and sometimes the little step means that you're going to do things you've never done before, where you
Mhm.
feel scared, frightened, unsafe, and being okay with that, knowing that emotions are there to teach us something we didn't know before. They're called feelings. for a reason, because we're meant to feel them, not suppress them, not medicate them, not drink, not distract yourself from them, but to go into what are they? What are they trying to teach me? What can I learn here? Where is the
Mm-hmm.
gift? And that is the growth.
Yes.
And it's such an extraordinary journey, this growth in finding myself and learning who I really am and what I'm capable of. Yeah, I've traveled around the world many times. I've lived abroad. I love to travel. I love to go into communities and have my worldview challenged about how things should be, my rules of what the world should be like. But this journey within, it's just the most extraordinary journey, and it's not easy. And I often wake up and I'm a bit frightened because I say to myself, Bobby, 65, you know, and I'm still working on creating an income and creating change. But my environment of women, the women who hold me, love me, support me, grow with me, it's a lifeline. I find such a lot of support in that. And I would recommend, like it's really hard to do this by yourself. It's really hard to see what you can't see from within. You can't read the label of the jam jar from the inside. You have to see outside. Oh, that's what I'm doing. Yeah,
Yeah, we
so
have to, yeah, we have to grow and know ourselves what we are really, uh, what what is inside us, and we can with going we can bring that out, and usually people sometimes they don't know themselves. They are they suppressing what they are because maybe it's not look for others normal, and I think it doesn't matter how old are we, how we like you change your life at 659. So I think it's incredible that somebody taking steps after 40, 50, they like you just do it. You have to grow. It doesn't matter are you 65 or 45. Just do things. Bring out from yourself what is inside.
I've been speaking at some Rotary clubs around Australia, and quite often those communities have older people, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I spoke at one the other evening, and there was a lady there at 94. And here I am talking about changing your life. Here I am talking about going within and looking at what it is that you really want. And one part of me thought that, someone in their 90s, are they really going to be receptive to such a message? And then I thought, no, the next day of your life, whether or the next year, whether you're turning 95 or 96 or 25 or 26, it's your life. These years matter. And it wasn't for me to second guess their view on where they were in life, what they are capable of. We hear about people in their 90s and over 100, and they get law degrees, or they go parachuting, or they run a marathon, or stuff like
Yeah.
that. And we think, oh my God, that's so extraordinary. Wow. And I really wish we could shift this narrative as to
Yes.
why aren't more people doing that? What's stopping more people from doing extraordinary things?
Just mindset. I
Yeah.
I watching I watching women. She's 74, I think, and she's pole fitness dance. She's doing pole fitness, and she's going to championships, and she's winning it because she's doing so nice. I going to also on pole fitness, and I'm doing, but she's so good. I'm not good yet. But I'm just 56, so I have time.
Well, you know, that language of I'm not good yet, you know, you are good yet. You know, like you can
Not
be
as
better
good as her.
tomorrow.
I just thought because I can grow, I can learn. I think I have every day I'm doing something to be better with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so our self-talk is so important. You know,
Yes.
the way we talk to ourselves, the language, and you know, and even with me. So I am very driven. I am very ambitious, and I give myself these massive to-do lists, and and the list is so much, and I get overwhelmed by how much I've got to do. And at the end of each day, I get to the end of what I did. Maybe I've distracted myself. Maybe I've taken myself out of the game by, I don't know, going doing something else or whatever, and or taking too long or overthinking things or
Hmm.
procrastinating about things. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm disappointed with myself and I beat myself up. I am my worst enemy in that sense. I And I want to go to bed at the end of each day satisfied with what I did that day. That's my goal. I want to be satisfied that I have chosen and done things with intention, which means giving myself permission to do nothing or read a book or sit in the sun and have a cup of coffee or something. All of
Hmm.
these things, and not be disappointed with myself that I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And that should is a stick to beat ourselves with. I
Hmm.
should. And women, we do this. You know, we don't give ourselves permission to invest in ourselves anywhere like near enough. We don't give ourselves permission to, you know, go and do nice things because we've got kids or we've got family or we've got, you know, housework or jobs or obligations. And we live in a culture that is driven by achievement, external achievement, success, and it becomes almost shameful to not be striving towards that thing, that success, that income, that status, that house, that, you know, the kids that are all well dressed and have their teeth brushed and got lunches packed or something like that, you know. Well, and we need to spend time and energy and nurture ourselves
Hmm.
because, and I have found that the time that I spent just for me is never wasted time. It's, you know, like that paradigm I used to live of doing, do this, more, work harder, work longer, work faster. All of that paradigm never worked for me. Never. And I just kept getting more of what I already had, which was not what I wanted. So through the mechanism of my coach and her teaching and her community, I've learnt about my own spirituality more. I'm open to human design is one of the things that I use. Um, Meditation, yoga, astrology, even, like things that my mind before would have closed off and said that's not real, that's not true, there's no evidence, there's no logic. The masculine stuff, and moving into the feminine side of more grace, compassion, beauty, understanding, less attachment to rules about how things have to be.
What would you do if you could go back in time and you could change something? Would you do that?
Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? Yeah. Like I am who I am now because of everything, because of who I was, because of what I did, because of all of the lessons that I've had. Um, I mean, many of us say that we wish we could go back to an earlier time, but know what we know now, which is, like it's not really much point in thinking about that, really, is there? No, I think, like I think I do wish that I had just simply been born as a cisgendered woman, and because because one of the hardest things about it has been in self-acceptance and my own right to express myself as a woman and be a woman, and like no matter how much external affirmation I get from other people, it's the internal, it's like that question, does my bum look big in this sort of thing? And we never believe the answer until we're ready to believe the answer, and so it's the same with me and my own femininity and my own womanhood, and actually that journey to self-acceptance has been, other people have seen it way sooner than me, years before me, years before I accepted it. Like things about my voice, a voice, and I, but many of us hate our voices, hate the sound of our own voices, whoever we are. And so for me, it's about, what am I hearing in that voice? Am I hearing the former me, or am I hearing? But it's really not for me to judge. It's for other people to judge. And people say, fine, it's no worries, Bobby. What are you talking about? And but I show. Excuse me, I've been traveling and I've got a bit of a croaky voice and everything. But I have some beautiful friends, beautiful cisgendered women who have had weight loss surgery, and a couple actually, and like these women in their 50s, 60s, that sort of thing, like they lived lives of dissatisfaction with the body that they had, and there was always this self-judgment and self-loathing and self-criticism around, and it shocks me that so many women can't look at themselves in a mirror, and there's so much judgment about how we look, against some kind of social validation, social level of what we should look like, all those shoulds again.
Mhm.
And so my friends, one of whom was adopted at birth, when she was very young, and was neglected and grew up, with finding comfort in food, and ended up with having this, like body that she was ashamed of, and eventually took the steps to have surgery because she tried all the things, tried all the diets and tried all the, all the things, and eventually went to have surgery, and now she has lost 50, 60 kilos or something. She still has to have surgery because of the skin and so forth. And she's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful woman. And she's straight, but other women hit on her all the time. She's very pretty, in early 60s, I think now. And I look at, what is the difference between her and me, in our journeys to womanhood? I've had surgery as well. I'm on hormones for the rest of my life, and she's on drugs for the rest of her life, and like there are as many versions of women as there are women. Every one of us has a different journey to get there. My
Mhm.
version, like in important ways, I've been a woman all my life, in the way that I show up, in my energy, in the way I hold myself, present myself, interact with people. I just happen to have a different biology at birth, or was identified differently at birth, and socialized accordingly through my life. So this becoming a woman that I am today, it's the life before that was the pretense. The life now is my authenticity. I have never been happier, never been more fulfilled in my, and I am one of the few who now absolutely adores my body. I can look in the mirror, and the funny thing is, we're on this Zoom call and I can see myself and I can see you. And I like what I see when I see myself. I like what I see when I see you too, just for clarity. But
Yes.
yeah, and that's quite special, because it's not something to take for granted. Actually, that permission to be yourself, to be true to yourself, to own your own self, and be comfortable in your own skin. And this has
Mhm.
been a massive part of my journey, and what I talk about, the authentic self. This me that I am today, it's body and mind, and deconditioning all of those things from my past, the fears, the social expectations, the pressures, like the things that the evidence that I've found to support in my life, that supports that worldview. And it's conscious work to shift that. And that's the work that I do every day, every single day. I have thoughts, but thoughts are not me. I am different to my thoughts. So I can question my thoughts. I can question I can question my emotions. I can question my triggers. I can learn through them. I have procedures, processes, strategies with which I you know delve into what's going on. What did I make it mean? Where was I triggered? Where did I find um, I, if I get triggered, it's because it served me in some way. It may,
Mhm.
like these like being, I get to be right. I get to make you wrong. I get to be um there's a whole lot that I use in my de-trigger process, but they serve me in such a way, but it gives me an access point to make a different choice about me and about how I show up and how I'm going to carry myself forward in the future. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And when did you actually realize that you are women inside?
So many young people know when they are very small, very small, like 2, 3, in their teens and so forth. That wasn't me. And I don't know why this happened, but it was in my late 40s, I think, and I started feeling differently about myself and about how I held myself, how I walked, how I sat, how I picked, like all those little things. And I started doing little things with my clothing, with hair removal. Like I know all of. I think I've done it all. Like waxing, shaving, threading, depilatory creams, laser, electrolysis. Done it all. Um, but it was a gradual stepping forward and a sense of being different, a sense of this not being my true self. And looking back in my life, I can see all sorts of clues, but at the time I didn't recognize them as clues. And
Mm.
and when I grew up, there was like the LGBTQIA plus world, I was never any of that. And now I am 3 of those. Not that the labels matter, but I'm 3 of those. And like in terms of changing my whole life, all of that has changed. I went from straight, cis, and male to trans, gay, and female. Like, whoa, my God, who would have thought? But that journey was me little by little, a few items of clothing here and there, until eventually I went to see a doctor. Now, in our lives, there are moments of great courage. And this was a moment of courage for me when I opened my mouth to a doctor and said, I want to be more feminine in my body. And that's all. That's all I said. And he really shamed me, and I felt humiliated by what happened and shut me down for 3.5 years. And he suggested that maybe I should try cross dressing, which I found really quite insulting and so not who I was trying to be. And because my femininity, my womanhood, and there are no rules around this, but I want to be so female. All of my surgery, I've had a lot of surgery and subtle things. There are very subtle differences between men's and women's faces, for example. And I might just add, because one of the things you talk about is menopause and HRT and things like that. And I take estrogen and I have a patch, and it's been amazing. It's just been amazing what it's done for me. And I am 65, but nobody can tell that I'm 65. They think I'm like 47 or so. And like, I have no hair. I have the estrogen has sort of softened me and filled me and redistributed
Mhm.
weight and everything. And I look at least 20 years younger than I would have before. And being happy in myself has been such a big part of that as well. Yeah. So
I think
so it,
that you are happy. It's also good for your skin that you are happy and you feel good in your body.
yeah, and getting sleep and drinking water, being hydrated, all of these things are so important. And yeah, but the journey was through my 50s mostly, and going to different doctors and discovering the process and being shut down for a period of time, but then finding another doctor, and then finding the pathway because in my life I didn't have any role models. I didn't know anybody. I had to work it out for myself. Yeah, so I transitioned when I was 59, and then in the years subsequent to that, between then and now, it was about surgery, learning how to be a woman, how all the things, like there's a lot to know. Should try it sometime. Yeah. Yeah. Little,
I'm
little.
I'm so happy for you that you find yourself. I see how happy you are, how you are true self there.
Yeah. But this is a happiness that is irrespective of outside things in my life. I choose to be happy. I choose to show up in joy. I choose, I recently did a gratitude exercise. It was the magic with Rhonda Burns, and there's 28 days of gratitudes, and it was fabulous, and I would recommend that. But it's just about focusing on all of the things that are going well, about reframing our lives out of lack and scarcity and isn't life hard, and flipping that conversation, that narrative into, oh my God, what have we got here? It's just, here we are sitting here, you and I talking on other sides of the world. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
And sharing messages of possibility for humanity to aspire to be better, to show up as higher expressions of who we are. We have our health, we have our vitality, we have roofs over our heads, we have so much, so much. And yet our societies talk about what we haven't got, what is going poorly, what is going wrong, what's happening in America right now, what, blah, 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 and we get to choose. We get to choose,
Yes.
what do we focus on? You
I
you get more
I
of what you
thought
focus.
I'm telling always that we have to be feel grateful for things, for little things, also because we if what would happen if disappear everything we are not grateful for.
I'm so grateful.
So I'm grateful when I go outside in sunshine and it's good weather, or if it's not good weather, I can be happy for something else. But we can always find something to be grateful, and we will feel better.
Well, it's just weather. It's not good, not bad. It just
Yes,
is.
everything. Our body, I can see, I can walk, I can run, I can do anything because I have legs and arms and everything. So we can be grateful for this also.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to diminish people's experience of life, and very often there are things that that are like really big and challenging, and that they have to deal with at a point. But overall, this perspective of life is hard, choose your hard. Life is easy, choose your easy. Like how does it change things when you flip that switch from one to the other?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can write down the negative what we're saying. If I thought at myself to think something negative, then I wrote down and change it to positive. We can do this with everything, I think.
I don't really have problems in my life anymore. I have challenges. I have things that I need to deal with, but I don't really have, like people have so many problems, and that's a really heavy way to be. And there are lighter ways to approach life. Yeah, so I really want to live my life from now on in a way that is joyful, lights me up, do the things that excite me, and get to the end of it thinking that I've got off this wonderful roller coaster of life, totally exhausted, totally spent, used all my talents and abilities and skills and passions, and screamed with delight. Woohoo! What a ride that was. Wouldn't that be a good way to eventually come to the end?
Um, uh, what could you advise to women if somebody wants some big changes in their life? But what steps do you, let's say 3 or 5 steps, what is the most important thing to change at first?
So I've been asked this question, what would I advise men? And then what would I advise women? And this is just a generalization, but for men, I would suggest that they become more emotionally vulnerable and allow other men to be emotionally vulnerable without that shaming. And it's different in different cultures, I know, but certainly in Australia, that's what I would suggest. And what I would suggest to women is about we limit ourselves so much, and I think we don't know that we do a lot of the time, but this awareness of the boxes that we put ourselves in, the cages that we put around ourselves, and we've got the key to it. And in fact, there is no cage; it's a made-up thing, but we
Mm.
think it's a cage, and I want to put on a program for women called Break Out. you know, the prison break from those cages that we put ourselves in. Yeah. Um, but like there are simple steps, like I think the first is what do you want? That question, what do you want, is such a hard question to answer because people don't give themselves permission to allow themselves to ask, what do I want? What do I really want? Because it's constrained by, oh, that will never happen, or it's not for me, or it doesn't happen in our family, or I don't have, there's all this limitation about. But I have learned so much about the power of the vision, the power of our reticular activating mechanisms about finding the things that facilitate the pathway to what we want. So so for me, the journey has been about a vision. Like, do you remember earlier I said I always wanted more? I always wanted something more, and starting to get specific about what more looks like in terms of how do I want to spend my days? What emotions do I want in my days? Who do I want around me in my life? Those sorts of questions are really important. And in my gender, I had a vision of me standing on a beach in my swimsuit with my hair down my back and the wind blowing on my face. And that's my reality now. And that's a dream come true. That is me now. I will do that any day of the week. So that vision of who do you want to be? And it can be a really hard thing to iterate. What is the vision? But maybe we can sort of like that, maybe a smaller vision, like what do we want tomorrow to look like? What do we want next week to look like? And then committing to that, commitment and responsibility. The personal responsibility to be the architect of your own life, the personal responsibility to take the actions to create the changes that you want, little actions, little things, little changes in momentum. Perhaps surround yourself with some different people who are where you want to be. Perhaps read something that is around personal growth or affirmation or mindset shifts, because it's all about mindset and it's all about emotions. And, you know, the other thing that we tend to do is to diminish our pasts, the stories of our lives up to now, the things that we've done, and we make them too small, and we focus on the future and make it too big. And about spending a little bit of time thinking about how incredible you already are, what you've already achieved, what hurdles you've already jumped over in order to become the extraordinary and amazing human being that you are today. And just pause for a moment and be grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
Love ourselves for who we are, not hate ourselves for who we aren't. That's a really important thing, isn't it? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a good message. Do you have a last message for let's say it that for let's separate for women and men, or just for everyone?
This, I think I just want to end with saying that this world is abundant, that anything is possible. I even have a tattoo on my arm. It's in French. It says au-delà du possible, and it means beyond possibility. There's a possibility
Mhm.
that you haven't even thought of yet, that because you haven't had the conversation or read the thing or had the inspiration or something. But life, I used to try to plan everything. It was I used to control everything and plan everything, and because of the safety issue. And I've discovered I can't plan everything. And whatever I do plan, it never happens anyway. And life is just so much better than that if you let it. So life is exciting. Be authentic. Be authentic. And get help as well. I really think that has been so important to me because I can't see what I can't see. I can't see through my language where I'm limiting myself, where I'm, the places where I get stuck through my beliefs. I can't see them. I need someone else to shine lights for me. And that's what I want to do too, is shine lights on possibility for other people to live more fulfilling lives, because we are more powerful than we know, more capable than we ever give ourselves credit, and our capacity to expand is limitless if we believe. So believe.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Um, do you know what I remember now? A
What?
movie. It's in Australia. Was happening, and it was Priscilla, the Queen of the Desert. Did you saw that film?
Yes,
I
yes,
was,
yes.
yeah, I like that film so much. I watched that, I don't know, 20 times maybe.
Wow. I've been to
It
the
was so
hotel.
much funny, and it's true and funny, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I've been to the hotel in Broken Hill where they have where they filmed it in Broken Hill, and they have the Priscilla room, and it's got this great big pink shoe, massive pink shoe there. all in glitter. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
I like how they danced and everything. So and about the song and this was it was yeah. I enjoyed that film, that movie.
Amazing.
Okay. Uh, thanks. Do you want to share something else, or uh, we
Well,
can finish?
if people would like to connect with me in any way, I'm over socials of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to an extent. I use some more than others. My website is bobbybarrington.com. That's Bobbi Barrington, Barrington.com. And, you know, I'm looking for communities to make an impact with. I'm in Australia at the moment, but we live in a very connected world, and there are many ways to communicate and share our messages. Um, at the moment, I'm traveling around just by myself and going into communities and speaking to those communities about change, about creating a future with intention, rather than letting our futures create us, if that makes sense. Yeah, so, and I'm just sort of asking questions about beliefs, about the rules, about your worldview. Are you sure? Are you really sure that's true? Or is it just a story you're holding on to that's
Mhm.
convenient because it keeps you safe and it means you don't have to challenge yourself? Yeah, it's work. It's absolutely work. In my
Mm.
transitions, I have had two transitions. One is my gender, and one is this mindset, this journey of the mind. And my gender has been far and away the easiest. And people are surprised to hear that. But it's the work that I do on my mind every day to grow me, to become a fuller expression of who I am. That work, but it's the best work. It's brilliant. Who I am, and I feel so powerful, and people around, they might be complaining about local events and people, and someone's cut you off on the highway and they react and with anger or frustration. Mm, and it's a choice, but people don't know it's a choice. They think their emotions are their emotions and they have no control over them.
Mhm.
And to some extent that is, if someone's coming to attack me, absolutely. And sometimes my unconscious mind will react before I've had time to calm it, but I calm it. I don't spend days triggered. I don't spend days crying as I have in the past. And the emotional journey has been so so amazing. Who I've become through it, how strong I've become. At 65, creating a new life in a new city, in a new body, and with a new career, and shifting everything, absolutely everything, including this money mindset, which I'm still working on. It's always going to be work because I always want to grow. I always want to expand myself, my capacity to impact others, to change the world for the better. And as a trans woman, I get a bit of hate. I get people who don't accept me, don't accept that I have a right to exist as other trans people around the world. And it's not a journey that I would choose, but I chose to be alive. I chose life because I could well have not chosen life. And what a waste it would have been for me to, because I did have certain ideations in the past. I did have certain times of being really depressed and sad and lonely. And what a waste it would have been for me to, act on that. Because all of us have this incredible capacity. And that's what I want to do, empower women, empower humanity to help us grow into the most fulfilled, inspired, highest expression, highest level, lit up, excited, passionate, wonderful human beings that we all are, all of us. And what else matters other than that?
Yeah. Thank you so much for being my guest. I wish you a happy life.
And you, Stella. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.